Now let's review some of the biggest stories that made headlines across West Africa this week. I have here in the studio with me Olalekan Olabode. He's a banking analyst at Vetiva Research. Thank you so much, Olalekan, for taking the time out to join us.
Thank you.
Now, quite a number of headlines were reported this week, but we're just capturing about 3 of them. Key on that list, or top on the list, is the fuel scarcity. You've probably also experienced it. I know I have experienced it, trying to maximize, or should I say manage, the little fuel that I have. But what we hear is that, I mean, what has been in the news is the fact that a part payment has been made, 156 billion, which the federal government has given out to the fuel marketers. And then there was a bit of a haggling over what the balance was at a 200 billion naira or less. We don't know where the argument ended up. But then in the midst of all of this, the fuel scarcity persists. And then we have the NNPC saying that they have about 1.2 billion liters of PMS as a premium motor spirit in stock. What do you make of that?
To start with, I think the real argument is not do we have fuel in stock. I think the problem is that a lot of the marketers believe that after this administration, they might not be able to get their subsidy allowance back. So they want to try as much as possible to get it before this administration's period rolls over. So we think that's really where the dispute is coming from.
That's an interesting point, because we know that that the federal government did promise them after that part payment was made that the next round of payment, or the final balance payment, will come in the next 2 weeks, which is most likely to coincide with the handover date.
Exactly. And I think what the marketers are looking at is they really want their money now. Then once that happens, then we can get to buy our fuel the easy way we used to.
I mean, just your opinion. How do you see this playing out? Because the fuel scarcity continues to persist. It's making the current government look very bad. I mean, at a time when they're about to hand over to a new government, and of course, there's that chance that the new government could inherit this huge bill. 200 billion naira is not small money.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. The plan is to try as much as possible to push the government back, so that as much as possible they can pay before they leave. Okay. So, and there's been this passive view of subsidy, and
whether or not subsidy will continue, if provisions have been made for it.
As much as possible, get your money before it becomes available.
As fast as you can. Let's talk about another story that made headlines this week. We've also talked about it here earlier in the week on Power Lunch West Africa. The federal government borrowing to pay or to fund its recurrent expenditure that includes paying salaries and overheads. And we've heard the finance minister said over 400 billion has been borrowed in the first quarter of this year to fund recurrent. And we also know that several states are owing months of unpaid salaries. I mean, just this morning we saw another headline that Plateau workers, civil servants in Plateau State are on strike over months of unpaid salaries. I mean, how worried should one be when you see this kind of headlines, looking at what's been made in the budget and the fact that we are going into a more difficult fiscal period? Yeah,
I think we've always been worried, and we continue to worry until we see something done. This is not a new trend. It's a trend that we've seen that has persisted in the economy for a while, and so I think it's a usual trend. And
when you say usual trend, what we've seen before now, because we have heard finance ministers say yes, we are experiencing a cash crunch, but we haven't gotten to the point where we begin to borrow to pay salaries. And she has said that if that happens, then we can say that we're broke. That was also a topic here earlier in the week on Power Lunch West Africa. Is Nigeria broke? But now that we're paying or borrowing to pay salaries, I mean, we try to get analysts to answer that question if we are broke. And if you put those two arguments together, the only logical conclusion is we're broke, maybe not permanently, but at least for now.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say how we broke, but the truth is we know that the funds have not been coming the way it's expected to. We know that the government have been pushed back in terms of their revenue. We know that their expenses continue to grow, and we know that even just as you mentioned, for state level, they're also struggling to pay salaries. They need to get this salary paid out. So the truth is they need to do something about it. Whether it's the right thing, of course, we know you shouldn't be borrowing to fund the recurrent expenditure.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on and see where that money comes from, especially for the states. But stick around with us, Olalekan. We'll have you back, of course, in the second part of the program, where we look at the top stocks of the week. I've been talking to Olalekan Olabode, a banking analyst at Vetiva.